Trek is an agency that is to protect the consumer. That is our main goal.
The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Knapik and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Knapik.
Welcome to the show. It is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Thank you for joining us today. On our show, I am Bill Knapik, your host, and we have super guests, as always, here on show number 452, I think. So thank you again for joining us. You may be driving around the Houston area. We're hearing that this station is getting about a 150-mile radius. I've had people that have been driving pretty far north and far south. So if you're driving around anywhere in the city or listening on the internet, once again, thanks for being here. And we're going to talk to a real live Texas oil man. That's right. That's what we have here in Texas. We have top realtors here today, and even a TREC, that's Texas Real Estate Commission, a TREC commissioner. So we're going to start with Leslie Lerner. Her company is called Leslie Lerner Properties, and oh yeah, she is a TREC commissioner. Leslie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So there you are. You have two functions, and we're going to find out how you are able to balance such responsibilities. But first, let's tell people about your company, Leslie Lerner Properties.
Leslie Lerner Properties is about to celebrate their 10-year anniversary next year, which I'm very excited about. I can't believe it's been 10 years. I've been in this business 30 years now.
Congratulations.
So thank you. It seems like forever.
Well, that's a real milestone.
So, Leslie Lerner Properties, I call it the home of flat fee listings and rebated commissions. So we offer full service, and we offer lower prices. Lower commission rates, put it that way.
Interesting thing now, how timely that is. I think people always want to get the most value as consumers, especially buying something as big as a home. But we want to get the most value. But right now, as the interest rates are higher and so many other strains are on people financially, inflation, a flat fee really will come in handy.
It does definitely come in handy. It's a huge savings for buyers and sellers.
Now, as far as the area that you cover with Leslie Lerner Properties geographically, let's tell people how you approach that.
I'm pretty much all over the Houston and surrounding areas. I've been here my entire life, so
You're
thankfully
a Houston native,
I'm a Houston native, so I know how to get around here, thank goodness, and I am out in the suburbs and close in all the time.
So you know the area. That's a great thing. As far as what are you finding when you're helping people in your business model right now? What's the kind of feedback that you're getting? And the flat fee applies to both buyers and sellers.
So the flat fee is for sellers, and the rebated commission are for buyers, depending on how many houses we show the buyer. So when I got in the business, all you saw online was an address and a description. You didn't see pictures or anything else. And now our MLS is so amazing. People can shop online more. So I tried to make it so they can benefit from doing some of the shopping themselves.
So it works very well with the times that we are in right now, as in 2022. So give us an idea is what you're seeing in the marketplace right now. Not necessarily any geographic area, but generally speaking.
It's definitely a lot quieter than we've seen in the past. I've noticed that buyers and sellers are a little bit more hesitant. Our lack of inventory for the last several months has really caused a big slowdown. And if you can't buy a house, people aren't going to sell a house. So in the rising interest rates and thoughts of recession and everything else going on, really has people a little bit hesitant.
Well, also we're hearing too, some of the people that have the super interest rate in the 2s or even the 3s, they're like, well, I may want to get a new home, but I don't want to release this super deal that I have.
Correct.
And that makes sense.
I was just talking to a lender today, and conventional rates are just right under 7% right now. So it's pretty scary for people. I know years and years ago they were higher than that, but people have been used to much lower rates.
Well, right. We're used to a certain thing, and quite frankly, it's easy to get used to 2% and 3%.
You're right.
And
You're right.
even talk to my son, and when they refinance, they're enjoying a 3-ish sort of rate. So.
You're right, and the refinancing is coming to a halt too.
Well, and as you are a TREC commissioner, first of all, let's tell people what that is. Again, if you're listening outside of the Houston area, you might be listening on the internet, Texas Real Estate Commission. Tell us some of the things that you're doing as a TREC commissioner and the things that you can tell us about as an overview of what's going on, because that's all over Texas, the knowledge you're gaining there.
Yes, that is all over Texas, and we're all kind of feeling the same kind of slowdown in the market. But the Texas Real Estate Commission is a regulatory agency. We are in charge of licensing and enforcing the rules. There's several. The commission is 9 people, 6 brokers, and 3 public members that are appointed by the governor. And there's also several committees that work things out and then bring it to us for our approval so we could pass it on as rules or laws or whatever it may be. And next year is the legislative session, so we're getting ready to pass some things along to see if we can get it through this time, because last time was a COVID time and not many things went through, so we're trying again this year.
Well, as anything that's important, anything in life has rules, and certainly real estate, there are a lot of rules. And here in Houston, let alone thinking about the complete state of Texas and all the realtors, the brokers, all that, I mean, they have to follow rules. Rules are changing, and there are remedies or things that happen if they mistakenly not follow a rule or make a mistake or even intentionally. So give us an idea, because the real estate professional should be, and most are, tuned into what those rules are, right?
Correct. Well, you just hit my little strong point right now.
I was looking to hit your strong point, just saying.
That was even without discussing
you
it.
Saw that.
So you're reading my mind. So TREC is based on complaints coming in. We can't do anything without a consumer or a licensee or someone to turn in a complaint. If you don't turn in a complaint, we can't do anything about it. So there is a complete complaint system in place with TREC by going to their website. And we don't want people to be scared of it. This is what makes us better. It's turning in complaints. So yes, we have ethics complaints that go through the Texas Realtors, but we also have things that go through TREC, as in unlicensed practice or advertising complaint, or my realtor really made a mistake and they shouldn't be doing this. And so we look at all of those types of things and decide if it's really a problem and how it should be handled.
So and we're talking about a complaint, or we could also say constructive feedback.
Correct.
You're looking for feedback, and if someone's not complaining, you're not really finding out what's going on.
Yes, and that's how we get data to figure out where we need to go with education or experience or any sort of legislative action we need. We need that data, and we only get the data by complaints.
Now, I don't know, but I'm guessing the complaint could come from me, a buyer or seller that has a complaint about either realtor on either side, right?
Correct.
Or a complaint could come from a realtor working with another realtor.
Correct. Both ways.
Which complaints do you see the most, just out of curiosity?
I don't see all the complaints. I only see when the complaints are agreed to, or if somebody disagrees and it has to go to the SOA court. That's only when. The most I see, or for the most part, are consumers
complaining about a given realtor or
Correct.
Or broker company.
Correct. And I mean, TREC is an agency that is to protect the consumer. That is our main goal.
Well, and also when we think of the volume, first of all, Texas is a giant state, and TREC governs or is over all of Texas, correct? So that's a lot of realtors.
So
I mean, just
it's
here in Houston, I don't know what the last number I heard, 40,000 licensed realtors. Is that about right?
Correct. And I believe TREC licensed
Wow.
over 200,000 people, but that includes inspectors as well.
And do you see, like, given problems or complaints, we'll call them, that there are some that you hear a lot about in Houston versus maybe Austin has their own set of type of complaints, or are they just
They're
the same
all
thing?
over the place. There are agents that are doing not so great things all over the place. And my goal is to improve that.
So you would tell people listening right now, if they're thinking about a real estate transaction in terms of how they're being treated or their perception anyways, you would encourage them to do what? Should they have a problem with a realtor or a realtor with another realtor, buyer, seller, all that?
Please turn in a complaint so we can try to figure out how to make this profession valuable and keep everybody doing what they should be doing.
So then, on a flip note, the good thing would be if you're not getting any complaints, that means everything's going well.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. So that means people just aren't speaking up.
People don't want to turn it in. People don't want their name on something. You just never know.
I'm an optimist, Leslie. I just thought I'd say it like that. Okay, let's go back as far as anything before we go back to Leslie Lerner Properties. We are talking with Leslie Lerner with Leslie Lerner Properties. 10 years in business or so, and also she's a TREC commissioner, so 2 for 1 right here. But before we go back to Leslie Lerner Properties, tell us anything else we should know about TREC. And the website is?
It's trec.texas.gov, I think.
Or just Google TREC,
yes.
TREC, it'll come up.
Yes. We have meetings every quarter. We are having our next meeting next Monday, and Tuesday's a workshop. Everybody's always invited to the meetings or to make public comment. And I love to hear from people because that's who we are representing, their voices. There's 9 of us, and we want to hear your voices.
And in fact, last time you were on, before you came on, I did some research, and I believe it was YouTube that you could actually see what's going on in the meeting. You could see the agents talk, the board members, and all that. It was kind of interesting to see the issues.
Yes. Nowadays, all of our meetings are live streamed, so you can definitely see those. And they're left online even after the meetings.
Okay, back to Leslie Lerner Properties. Leslie, someone's out there, they're thinking about buying and selling in this very interesting time. What else do you want them to know about your company, Leslie Lerner Properties?
I would love to help them. You just have to have patience in this market, and there's always new homes coming up, and I'm happy to help. I am a full-service brokerage, and we hold your hand throughout the full process.
And a flat fee. You're helping people
absolutely.
Save a few dollars.
Absolutely. And everything is just like you would if you were going to any other agency. Nothing is paid up front. It is all at closing, and it all works out perfectly.
All works out at Leslie Lerner Properties. That could be a new motto, Leslie.
There
you
can
hire me as your promo guy. In the
I
meantime,
need one.
There you go. Let's tell people how they can reach you, Leslie Lerner.
I can be reached anytime at 713-489-9900. My website is leslielernerproperties.com.
The website again is?
leslielernerproperties.com.
Your phone number is?
713-489-9900.
Thank you so much, Leslie.
Thank
nice
you.
to see you again.
Good to see you.
If you're a real estate professional, then listen closely. Cyber criminals are targeting our industry. They are impersonating real estate professionals, homebuyers, sellers, and title agents. Their goal is to gain access to your inboxes, computers, and clients so they can steal information and funds. Does your business insurance offset these risks? Not sure? Contact Stewart Insurance to determine if your business is properly insured. Visit stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827. Visit stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827.
As we continue, like I said, a real live Texas oil man. He's right here. He's our friend, Danny S. Davis with Escapeda Oil Company right here in Houston, Texas. Danny, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill. I enjoyed being here.
Well, we're glad to hear from you today, as everything in any economy, businesses, and as far as real estate, everything affects the home. Everything affects real estate. It's a fascinating dynamic that takes place. First of all, your company. Let's tell people about your company and what you all do every day here in Houston for many years now.
Yeah. We started here in 1993. Basically, we have production in Alaska and in South Texas and in North Texas. We're a very small independent. My whole staff's probably 8 or 9 of us, even field personnel. But we put together and drill projects, and right now we're developing a field in Maverick County of South Texas, which is outside of Eagle Pass where all the action's going on right now on the border. We're developing that field, working on other projects, and that's what we do, put things together and get wells drilled.
And right now, and that's one of the things we think about. The oil business is a term that we've heard. I heard about it when I first got to Houston many decades ago, in fact. But the oil business encompasses a lot of things, like you're talking about drilling, there's drilling on land, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but also I remember years ago traveling to Louisiana, there's offshore drilling. So oil is in the earth, both under the water and under the land. Is that
everywhere,
right?
Everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Even under the Antarctic, I think. So we'll see about that when the time comes. Well, no, it's everywhere. You just have to deal with different agencies. Most of our properties are owned by private individuals, so we deal with them and their minerals. We've had state leases in Alaska where you dealt with the state, but most everything we do is here in Texas. It's private with private individuals, and the government doesn't bother us too much. And the state of Texas is a great place to be doing business.
Well, and Texas is not, why is going back to the history of oil, the oil business, the boom and all that, why is there just more oil under Texas, or how did Texas become an oil type place to begin with?
Well, these days it's probably a pretty good argument, Bill. There's, North Dakota, South Dakota, Alaska, Louisiana, and everywhere else. But here, I think the way this part of the world was set up geologically millions and millions of years ago kind of blessed Texas pretty good insofar as the opportunities to drill and complete oil and gas.
All of a sudden, I'm thinking of movies where the oil is gushing out of the ground. I don't know if that was a John Wayne movie. You've actually seen that.
Yes, we've actually seen seeps. Yes, sir.
So when your company actually drills for oil,
yes.
So the oil that you're looking for, let's take Alaska, for example. That's sounds like a fascinating place, and you've been to Alaska many times, right? You go to Alaska, you have an idea where the oil is. How far do you drill down to get it?
Well, in that part of the world, you've got reservoirs down to about 18,000 feet up in Alaska. Our production right now that we own part of is about 6,500 feet, but there's oil much deeper there that they'll have to get around to developing one day. We got up there in the early 90s, 94, started working, doing what we do down here, putting projects together, getting ideas together, and then early 2011 moved a jackup rig from Galveston up to the Cook Inlet Basin and found a
that's
pretty
in
big
Alaska.
discovery. Yes, sir. It was on our properties up there, and I think there's close to 700 or 800 BCF of gas to be developed from the platform we have, and underneath it, 400 or 500 million more barrels of oil when they get around to it on that one.
So
property.
when you drill the oil, where does the oil go then to where you?
We had to build a pipeline. We were about 8 miles offshore in the Cook Inlet Basin, and so drilled your test well with a jackup ring, then built your facilities, then laid your pipelines, built your onshore facilities, and all that happened in about 11 through 2014. Then all the properties went online, been online ever since.
So basically you tap into where the oil is in the earth, kind of like putting a straw in it and then directing that straw to the pipeline.
To the facilities to produce.
Right into the bank.
Now, it's a lot easier onshore. You don't have to do all that.
Okay.
You drill in Maverick County, for example, we drill a well, we hook it up, you perforate it, and then you put your oil in the tanks. It's all trucked. It's a lot easier to operate onshore and a lot cheaper to operate onshore than it is offshore.
And then how did you find your company or develop your company, Escapeda Oil, right here in Houston? Are you Houstonian? I forget.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, I was born here about 71 years ago, so I've been here a while. Being an original Houstonian.
Well, how did you get into the oil business? Is that something you wanted to do, or you fell into it, or what was the attraction?
I kind of always wanted to do it. When I was in college, I ended up with a business degree in management, and then I was a okay tennis player, and so right out of college, I met a guy named Rod Laber, and he put me to work for him for about 4 years. I had an unbelievable time working for he and Roy Emerson, two of the finest champions you ever met in your life. Well, a lot of good life lessons I learned from those two.
And as you have been here in Houston with your oil company for so many years, and we see the changes in real estate. It's dynamic. It's exciting. We don't know what's going to happen next year. We didn't know all the stuff was going to happen these past couple of years. But you see, as oil is part of the many businesses and professions here in Houston, you see the oil business affect real estate, right?
They go hand in hand.
It goes hand in hand. It's amazing.
Hand in hand. Commercial real estate, private real estate, homes, all that goes hand in hand. I witnessed for real in 1988 when the price of oil went to $9 and everybody in this town went broke. And then Houston had the resiliency to come back and get into other industries and under business and rebuilt this town right after that. And it's been secure ever since. I don't think it's oil price proof. Nothing is. I mean, when it went to minus 40 a few years ago, it was only short term. It didn't stay very long. And it came back with a vengeance. And I think here in the future, we're going to have that perfect storm once again.
Well,
I don't think there's enough being drilled worldwide to take care of what's getting ready to happen from a consumption standpoint.
So then if you were to look at the future, here we are, we're finishing up this year. 2023 will be here. So what are you seeing or forecasting with your team? And as you are in the world of the oil business, you're hearing about other companies that are doing similar things, bigger, smaller, and all that.
A lot of bigger guys than us out there doing
But
business.
what are the trends that you're seeing for let's say the first part of
price-wise? I believe that you're going to see higher prices in the first quarter of 2023 for oil and natural gas. Natural gas right now is about $6.30 per MCF. I believe over the winter and probably in February next year, it'll get close to 10. It was already at 10 earlier this year. I think it'll come back because you got to remember what we produce here, we store for hard winters, but we're selling most of it in LNG over in Europe right now. They're going to have some serious problems over there heating their homes. They're getting that gas from Texas and Louisiana, and they're shipping it LNG-wise over to Europe so they can have a source for their energy.
So give us an idea. A day, and I'm sure every day is different. One day you might be in Alaska, maybe you're looking for places to drill. But give us an idea of the day-to-day world of what you do every day.
Well, I'll give you an idea of what we do
Well, today
now.
you're here on the radio, and we
well,
did
of
something
course.
before the show, but other than that.
We operate about 65 wells, and we drill a well a month on the average right now on our properties in South Texas. But what's interesting down there, we're on the Chittum Ranch, and the lease on the Chittum Ranch, you can't do anything from November 15th to January 15th because that's their deer season, and they take it real serious. So we're getting ready to shut down in 2 weeks and go back to work in January, but we're able to operate the properties we have. So we've been really busy down there. And I see next year is being even busier because I do believe oils are going to go up. I think natural gas is going to go up. The problem we have today, services are hard to get, equipment's hard to get.
That's right.
The services and the equipment you do get when the personnel shows up, a lot of them are untrained. I mean, it's an interesting part of this industry right now.
And a friend of mine is in the equipment business. Not only is the equipment hard to get as far as compressors, generators, lighting, all that, the parts for if something
Everything.
goes wrong with what you already have.
This whole thing's whatever happened during COVID sure messed up a lot of things.
Right, parts.
And it'll be another year or two, I think, before we get out of it. But it's going to be all right.
Well, you know, many of our listeners are very young, but I just thought of going back years ago. There was a show called Dallas, right? With Jay. Yeah. Okay, so remember J.R. Ewing. Now, he was like where the world got to see a Texas oil man probably for the first time if you were in Pennsylvania, Indianapolis, or somewhere.
According to Hollywood, yes.
That's right. That was
in real life. You know, you had guys in the old days like John Meekum Sr. That family was unbelievable.
Right.
He found more oil than anybody in the whole world.
You don't have as much drama in your life as J.R. Ewing did on the fictitious J.R. Ewing.
No, thank God. A few friends of mine do. I don't want to name them on the radio, but they definitely have drama.
But that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. And he had this big ranch and all that. Now, you have a beautiful home, I hear, but one of the things in your home that's distinctive is you have what's called the Robert Duvall Theater, right?
That's exactly right. He and I have been friends almost 50 years now. One of the biggest characters and nicest guys you ever met in your life.
That's right.
Yep. Gus is really Gus.
Thanks to you, Robert Duvall was on the show. I'd encourage people to just Google Danny Davis, Robert Duvall, this radio show. You'll find that interview, or just go to our Stewart archives. You could find it. He is a tremendous guy, and also I'm a super fan of Robert Duvall as far as his movies go, and you're buddies with him.
He's a nice man, and I'm glad Stewart Title did that interview, and I'm glad y'all got that. That was a really good thing, and it was a great one to listen to.
Oh, yeah. People still listen to it as he recalls all the things he was doing, did do, and was doing at the time of the interview. He was doing a couple of movies at the time.
Yep. He still does them, but what's really good is he was in that movie Hustle with Adam Sandler.
That's right, yeah.
Now, when he goes to a movie, he makes him a deal that he doesn't have to read lines. He just ad-libs. Of course, he's the best ad-libber in the whole world. He's so smart.
He's got a great voice,
still
too.
works. He's working today.
Also, I want to say this. John Bramlett, our insurance guy, we're going to hear from John in a minute, but he and I just got finished reading the book called Green Light with Matthew McConaughey. You have some ties to Rooster McConaughey and some of these other guys that are in that little world, too. Now, they may be listening to the show.
I hope they do, because Matthew's a good guy, but his brother Rooster is probably one of the biggest characters I've ever met in my life. He's just, you couldn't ask for a better guy, a smarter guy. He's in the oil field his whole life.
He was in the
pipe business.
That's
yes,
right.
sir.
He was one of the pipe guys.
Yeah, he won't give me credit, but I still buy pipe from him.
Is that right?
No, it's a
You
joke.
should get
Of course
a
he
discount.
gives me credit. We laugh about that all the time, but he is a character. I mean, you meet him, you never forget him. He's got a heart of gold, and he's kind and he's nice. He's just a good man. Has a great family. He and old Butch are quite the pair.
And we have a lot of good people right here in Houston. And by the way, that is a good book, Green Lights, Matthew McConaughey.
I'll get around to reading that.
I read it, and I didn't think I thought that might be interesting. I really liked it. That life lessons, the way he relays what has happened in his life, his story. It's fascinating.
Both their parents were characters, and they grew up in Uvalde, and Joaquin Jackson was the Texas Ranger down there that used to ride herd on both Rooster and Matthew when they were growing up. So it was an interesting part of life for those guys.
Also, before we close the segment, Danny, what else do you want people to know about your company or anything else?
Well, not much. We're going to keep drilling wells no matter what the government says. This is what we do for a living, and we do it for the state of Texas and do it for ourselves, and it helps.
Your company website is?
Actually, I don't have a real website
okay.
now, but
Right. Well,
maybe I'll
Google.
get somebody to make me one day. But you can find us, Escapade Oil and Gas, here in Houston.
Danny S. Davis. Thanks for being with us, Danny.
Anytime. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, now let's continue to talk real estate. We have Avery Taylor. He is with Next Home Elite Advisors. Avery, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we appreciate it. In fact, let's tell people, it's been a while since you were here.
Yeah.
Things have changed in the real estate world. First of all, let's tell people, about your company and the area that you're kind of doing most of your work in.
Yeah, so things have changed drastically, as everybody in the world knows right now. But, most of our work is done Fort Bend County area. Not only am I a real estate agent, but a big part of my business is I work on the investing side. So, we buy, we flip, we hold properties. That's one of the big things that we do, and it's actually been helping me as a real estate agent throughout this hard time that everybody's going through. But we still do help our buyers. We still do help our sellers, and we try to do as many transactions as we can, also navigating through the rough times that everybody is going through.
Buy, flip, and hold. Sounds like a card game. I mean, I'm not even a card player.
It's a little like poker, I guess you could say.
But I know people that play poker, and it's something about holding and all that.
Yep.
Texas Hold'em, I don't know what it is.
You got to know when to hold them. You have to know when to fold them. And it's the same thing
Well, that's life
in the
advice.
flipping game. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into the flipping game and you want to flip these houses, you need to know what to come in at, what to get out at, when to sell it. And it's just like poker, so I like that reference.
Well, actually, now that you mentioned flipping, last week we had a guest, and they said, if I could recall the quote, they said, you make the money when you buy.
Yep, you do.
You've heard that. Okay.
Right, so right now, I mean, if you're on the investing side, hopefully you saved that nest egg for buying properties. We've actually bought about 3 in the last 2 months. So right now is a really good time to buy because people are saying, hey, I've been having this house that is in bad shape. My grandfather passed away 3 months ago, and I thought I wanted to hold on to it, but now I don't have the money, and they're selling these properties to get money into their pockets.
Now, would it be safe to say, as far as you're talking about saving money and possible put forth now may be the time to buy, but let's say you saved up cash.
Right.
Let's say you're a cash buyer.
Yeah.
Would now be the time to buy as a cash buyer?
Now still would be a time to buy as a cash buyer because you're not actually relying on that financing. I rely on financing, and I can give people examples. I mean, when I used to buy properties, a year ago, I used to get financing at 8% on a hard money loan. That same loan now is about 14%. So as a cash buyer, you actually save money up front versus having to pay that over a short period of time or a long period of time. It's usually 90 to 180 days that you have that loan. So you save a lot of money in the interim if you can buy cash right now.
So tell us about, you just said in the last couple of months you have purchased some properties, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's
Yes,
just,
sir.
without addresses and so forth, give us a look at one of the properties, walk us through. Did you sell any of these yet? Or
I have. I sold
let's
one.
take one
yeah.
that you how much did you pay for the one that you sold?
The one that I sold, we paid about $98,000 for it.
So you buy a property at 98.
Yes, sir.
All right. So then what happens? You looked at it. Did you get it inspected, or
I always do an inspection. So we spent about $550 to do an inspection. The reason that it's a little bit more than your regular residential inspection is about $350 is you're getting a roof inspection, foundation inspection, and then they do what we call behind the wall. So we want them to make sure that we know everything about the mold, black mold, roofing problems, and foundation problems. So that's the first step. Is anytime you have
know the property.
Know the property.
Buy right.
Right.
Number one, buy
Yes, sir.
right, know the property,
Yes, sir.
and then what?
And then after that, that's when you take that inspection, you put all of your numbers into a diagram. Hopefully everybody has one of those, and you say, okay, this property works. And just for rough math, if that property is ARV after repair value $100,000, you really want to go in with your first discount, which is about 30%. So you're not buying that house at more than the 70-30 value. And then you want to subtract another 15%, so you multiply that times 0.85, and that brings you down to kind of where you need to be, but you also have to factor in what your repairs look like. So at the end of the day, on a property like that, you would probably be going in at about $50K.
Okay, before I get to the point where how much did you put in it and how much you sell it for?
Yes, sir.
Was this home listed on the market, or you knew about it before it was listed?
Most of my properties are either probate or taxes. So I do a lot. I hate to say it like this, but people who pass away, I like to buy their properties. Those are usually the properties that I try to go after.
So that's a niche that you're working.
Yeah, that's
so
my
to
niche.
speak.
That's my niche. And I think that the one thing about properties that have to be probated is people pass away every day. So we all saw what happened during COVID. The tax sales stopped. So people that only had a niche for tax sales, they couldn't buy any properties because there were no more tax sales during COVID. They stopped it every first Tuesday of the month. They didn't do it. People were still passing away. And, Fort Bend County, Harris County still wanted their taxes paid on these properties, but they would actually go after those properties because they had a death certificate attached to it. Yes, sir.
So, okay, again, you buy it at 98. You checked it out, did
Yes,
the
sir.
inspections, calculated, okay, I'm going to put in this much money.
Right.
All right, so what'd you sell it for, and how much did you put in? Just
So-
curious. I mean,
so-
if it's, you could tell us,
Yeah, no,
right?
I mean, so on that property we put in about $37,000. We ended up going under contract at $210,000. So that's another part of it. All of the investment properties I do, I try to get under $300,000 ARV. I feel like that's the biggest niche, and that's the one thing that's missing on the market right now is properties that are under $300,000. So a lot of people want to get the big properties and make the big money, but if you can do 10 of the small properties instead of doing one big
like
property,
a bread and butter thing.
yeah,
You got
it's a little bit at a time, and it'll keep you afloat as long as you need to.
All right, from the renovation standpoint on this particular property, it was how much you put in? 30?
About about $32,000.
All right, so for that $32,000 again,
Yes, sir.
buying it right is so important.
Right.
Renovating it right with the right person,
Yes,
right
sir.
company. That's
Yes,
not
sir.
easy to find.
Yeah, it's not.
And getting your value there where you're not getting super inflated rates from the
Right.
renovators. So for that, take $30,000. I'm going to guess kitchen and bathrooms,
kitchen, bathrooms,
flooring.
and always try to add a bedroom. So closet and window if it's not a window already there. But you really want to take a place where there's a window already there, have enough space to be able to add a bedroom because that's how you get that extra $20,000 added to that house.
So you also help buyers and sellers. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
going to guess after you had the bow tie and put the bow on the
Right.
gift, you listed the property.
Yes, sir.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's because you're a real estate professional.
Exactly. And then, you get to do an open house and you get to send one of your agents. We actually have about 28 agents under
Nobody
our
knows
brokers.
more about the property. If you're
Exactly.
doing the open house, you said, oh, yeah, but it had this and we fixed it. We
Right.
enhanced this. Bop, 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 right?
Right, yes, sir. So we fix it up, we do the whole thing. And then next thing you know, you probably have an offer the same day, especially in the market that we just left from, and still today under $300,000. And you can usually sell a house like that within. I mean, you want to hold on to it for 90 days because you can't sell a property if you've bought it as an investor within those first 90 days. So after that 90 days, you're selling it within a week.
So here we are in November.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to still buy properties here at the end of the year, November, December?
Yes.
Or are you taking a break?
No, I'm full head steam. I want to buy as many as I can. If you need to sell something, let me know.
I'm just listen, Avery. We're talking with Avery Taylor right here. He's with Next Home Elite Advisors, and just all of a sudden, I'm reminiscing of all the shows that we have done in just 6 shows.
Yes, sir.
And I've remember more people saying, I'm buying as many as I can.
Yeah. This is perfect time right now.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it's a great time. And I would say it's still a good time for people that want to enter into the market that have never done it before. I would definitely tell you to get somebody behind you that can kind of walk you through it. But it's still a good time because people want to sell properties that have issues.
As far as this is the investing the flipping side of your investing business.
Yes, sir.
You also help people buy and sell their properties, right?
Yes, sir. I'm a real estate professional. I love being a real estate agent. I've been doing it for about 6 years now. I came in. I wasn't full-time. I was part-time at first. I used to be a teacher, and before that, I was in the military for 6 years. So when I came in full head of steam. I was ready to get out of teaching, and I've been full-time ever since.
What branch of service?
Army. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for your
92 Alpha.
service.
Thank you very much. Thank
Anybody out there listening that serves right now, has served, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard,
Yes,
Semper
sir.
Paratus. Anyway, anybody serving, law enforcement, firemen, we appreciate it so much.
Yes, sir.
And we know a lot of people listening. We had a fireman a couple months ago listening to the show as we talked about the fire department. He was with his dog going to do an arson investigation, and he sent us an email.
I love it. I mean,
there.
and veterans are a really big part of my business, so I do want to
You're helping
mention that.
veterans buy and sell.
Yes, sir. We do a lot of VA loans, and right now, and we've talked about it before, a big thing with a lot of these VA loans is the lenders are getting smart. The lenders have to understand what's going on in the market, so they're doing these things called a 2-1 buy down, and you can get that property, and you don't have to pay the interest rate that you were approved for the first two to 3 years. So they're starting you at 5, but your true interest rate may be 7. And that first year it'll be 5, the second year it'll be 6, and the third year it'll be 7. But hopefully you can refinance if these rates go down before that time.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So let's say you help first-time buyers?
Yes, sir. I love them.
All right, so the first-time buyer comes to you right now. They've seen the news, the national news. They hear about their friends that just sold or bought a house, all that. So how are you advising? I say, Avery, I got $350,000. My wife and I want to buy a place. We never bought a house. We don't know what we've been renting for 5 years. What should we do? What kind of introduction to the market are you going to give them?
Well, I mean, first time I talk to somebody, I always tell them that we need to do what's called a discovery call, or that's what I call it. So I want to find out what your pain point is. And the first thing, if you tell me that you've been renting for 5 years, I ask them, if I sell my house and we've bought it at the same time and you want to leave that apartment, how much money will you make from that apartment? I'll be able to make money no matter what the interest rate is from my house once I sell it in 5 years. That's the biggest thing, is you want to make sure that you're investing in yourself and not somebody else's property. Secondly, we need to find out where your credit is. Right now, you can get into the market with about a 585, but I highly suggest people not do that. Let's get you to a 620, if higher, so we can get you approved for some of these programs. They have T-Shack, they have down payment assistance programs, but those make your interest rate go up. So that's what's important about the discovery call. Do you want a lower monthly payment? Are you okay with a higher monthly payment? Do you have money saved up for that down payment, closing costs? And when are we buying? Are we buying closer to the end of the year or closer to the beginning? Because your closing cost goes up at the beginning and it goes down towards the end.
I've said it a million times on this show. My favorite time to buy a property is October-ish to February.
Yes, sir.
It just is cooler that time, if for no other reason. Before we close this segment, Avery Taylor, what else do you want people to know?
I want people to know that I'm here for them. If they want to buy, sell a property, or if they want to sell it to us as an investment property, I would love to help them out. They can always reach me. I'm always available via Instagram, Facebook, phone calls, emails. Send a kite. I'll find you.
Okay, the number is, Avery?
832-338-9202.
Sounds like you said, 832-338-9202. That's
Correct.
right, Avery Taylor.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for your service.
Yes, sir.
Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title would not be possible without our partner, Stewart Insurance, with a focus in real estate and a special focus on real estate brokers. Stewart Insurance creates insurance plans to address the risks facing our industry today. They invest a significant amount of time helping real estate broker owners offset and manage their risks. Here he is today, John Bramlett. Hey, John.
Bill, always a pleasure.
It's time for insurance once again on this beautiful November day.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's nice to be here in the fall.
I think November is Insurance Awareness Month.
That or my birthday, one of the two.
Is it your birthday?
Yes, yes.
What's the date?
22nd.
Well, we remember that.
Yes.
So here we are. What do we want to tell people today about insurance?
Well, it's a bit about risk minimization. A lot of our audience, especially the realtors and the property managers, the brokers, that they spend most of their time out of the office, and they're working remotely, just like a lot of folks in the world today. But the realtors and the property management firms, brokers, kind of pioneered that idea of being independent and working remotely. And there was a great article in the July-August issue of Success Magazine about how to protect yourself if you're a remote worker or you work remotely from cyber criminals. And I thought I'd share some of the learnings from that article.
The cyber criminals are everywhere, and I do mean everywhere around the world, but yet they're targeting us right here, and they're also targeting companies.
Well, they are. And if you think about our industry, we know so much about our clients. There's whether we're handling the money directly or indirectly, finances are being handled. So it's important that we're careful about how we protect that. And the first thing is to be cautious about using a public Wi-Fi. So you're out and about and you're making calls, you're between home showings, or you're between checking on properties for clients, and you stop off at a coffee shop, or stop off to have a hamburger, and you get online, and well, it's going to be quick, it's going to be easy, so I'll just use their Wi-Fi. Well, their Wi-Fi is not, more than likely, is not protected. Therefore, any transmissions you're making, they're unencrypted, so that means they could be easily intercepted. So if you're out and about and you do that, where you need to stop and work remotely, it's worth investing in a personal hotspot or some sort of portable Wi-Fi so you can protect yourself and make sure that the messages are encrypted. The second one is protect your screen. We don't always realize that people can see many times what we're writing. So if you're in a coffee shop and you're sitting there and you're having a cup and you're working on an application, or you're working on an updated note, or you're sending out a confirmation of a conversation that you had with a client, and there's somebody behind you, the chances are they can see some, if not all, of what you're documenting. So if you can find a privacy screen, or you can add a privacy screen to your laptop, again, you've got another way that you're protecting yourself from cyber crimes.
Well, and if you are a cyber criminal, that's one of your activities, is looking at other people's screens.
Absolutely.
Me, if I go into I don't care about anyone else's screen. But if I'm a criminal, that may be one of the things I'm looking for, in addition to some other con moves that they make, so to speak.
If I'm using that as a location to find folks, and I see that you're dealing with public information, then I may work to try to access your computer in order to do that. Be careful about who you give access and logins to your computer. So, we're all, whether we work for somebody as an employee or a 1099, we all need to consider ourselves as independent business people. So you're seeing more and more folks have their own website, and more folks have their own blogs. And if you have somebody that builds that for you or updates it, make sure that you're careful about what you can do and how much you allow them to have access to. That's where, we've talked about this a lot, but that's where that multi-factor authentication comes into play, that it can truly protect you from somebody getting into your system. Microsoft did a study in 2019 that found out that having MFA, the two-stop or two-factor authentication, stopped something like 99% of automated attacks. So I know it can be a hassle, but something as simple as having a code sent to your phone to confirm that you are who you say you are, or sent to your email to say who you say you are, is a way to protect yourself.
No, there's no doubt about it, and that touches everything. Even my AT&T, when I pay my cell phone or internet, I log in, I have all the password there, but then they're texting me. I mean, just every time I go in. So it is kind of a hassle, but the flip side is, it
protects you. It's worth the hassle.
Yeah, right.
It's worth the hassle.
Right.
The other one I thought was unique, and it's lie on your security answers. So if you think about the security questions we get.
What street were you born on?
What street were you born on? What city were you born in?
Mother's maiden name.
What high school did you go to? Well, if a fraudster knows anything about you, a little bit of research, they can figure some of that out.
The maiden name, too. Yeah,
yes.
They could find that out.
So create some false answers. So if you went to, Houston Reagan High School, say that you went to Alvin High School. Or if your mother's maiden name is Mabel, you say it's Jennifer. Just something that's different, but make sure you remember what those are. But it's a way to protect you, so people, if they're doing research on you or trying to find some background, that they can't. Be cautious with physical security, and that's one that we don't always think about. Again, keep your materials close to you. So you're at that same coffee shop, and you've got your journal out, and you've got your laptop out, and you've got your phone, and you're working away, and you need to step around the corner. Do you leave your laptop there? Do you leave your phones? Well, I'm just going to be gone a couple of minutes. People around me are nice. They're not going to do anything. And suddenly something's gone, and the fraudsters have access to all that.
Well, sometimes it's the common sense things where we let our guard down, and that's when things happen. So you have to be careful all the time and be mindful. As you said, physically, I mean, even myself, wherever I go, when I go to even this parking garage, I'm always mindful. As soon as I get in the car, I lock the door before I start the car, just out of a habit. So that's a habit I've developed. The other thing that I do, when you talk about information that's available, sometimes we forget. But when we have guests on the show, I do some research. sometimes more, sometimes less. But one of the places I go is to Facebook. And there's so much stuff about people on Facebook, and some of it we want people to know. And then other times it's like, hey, you shouldn't put that stuff on there.
Yeah, people sometimes will let criminals know that they're on vacation pretty quickly.
Yeah,
so it's careful. But when you're doing that physical security, one of the things you can do is make sure that all your devices have a password. So there's got to be password access to your laptop, password access to your phone or phones, password access to a tablet. So make sure you've got a password access to that. Always safeguard your data, even when you're at home. So, to have your own virtual private network or VPN, so that conceals your location and your IP address and encrypts all your online activities. And most any security network that you can buy or you can purchase for your home system, they can offer a VPN. So that's important. The other thing to consider would be a password management tool where all your passwords are stored with one location, and you use that password management to get into that location to access those other tools. So in a sense, you have one password to remember, but that password, so
opens the door.
the door, because it keeps us from using the same password every time or the same password multiple places, which we all do. So it protects us for that. And then the last thing is, if you do have a website as a business owner, or even as an individual, consider a penetration test, or a test that you find out what are your vulnerabilities. So are there areas that have access to your site that could be an issue? I know that when we write cyber plans for our real estate businesses that we provide coverage for, many times prior to coverage being executed, the insurance partner will go in and do a vulnerability test on the websites. And they will come back and say, if you do these things, then we can provide you coverage. If you do not do those things, we will not provide you coverage because of the ease of access that the fraudsters can have.
Fascinating. The cyber criminals never sleep. They're out there all the time. We have to be mindful. And boy, when you talk about password management, I don't even know where to begin. I have so many, like everybody else. And every time you sign up for something, here's another password I have to remember. I don't have a good management system. I'll be the first to tell you. I don't know what that is. I write stuff down and then I cross it out. I don't know. I need a better system.
Well, if you remember,
like
we did a show on the password management several months ago, and neither one of us were great. But one of the things, at least if you could keep them in a separate documentation, a separate notebook, so they're not all online, unless it's a protected online system. The challenge is then if you leave that notebook lying around,
that's right.
It's the same issue.
Well, I just tell people I went to A&M to confuse them, right?
Well, then they know you're vulnerable at that point. So, well, I think if you want to be properly insured, if you'd like to talk about how you can, what are some of the things you can do to minimize your risk as a real estate firm, where you're a real estate broker, a property management firm, a lender, independent title or attorney agent, we would love to have that conversation. You can reach Stewart Insurance at 866-798-2827. If you'd like to be properly insured for your home, wind, auto, flood, vacation property, investment property, we can help you with that as well, and you can reach us at 866-798-2827.
And the number again is?
866-798-2827.
John Bramlett, Stewart Insurance. John, thanks for being with us again.
Bill, always a pleasure.
Well, it's time to wind up the show. The time is flying by. As always, she is back, Leslie Lerner with Leslie Lerner Properties, and she is a TREC commissioner. How many more years do you have in your commissioner role, Leslie?
I have 5 more years.
5 more years. So that's a very important commitment and a long-running one, because it was a total of 6 years?
Yes, total of 6 years.
So who knows what we'll be talking about 5 years from now?
Who knows? You're right. Things change pretty quickly.
There'll be a few complaints under the bridge by that time.
Yes.
So before we close the show, what else do you want people to know about Leslie Lerner Properties and/or what's going on with TREC?
You can always find me at leslielernerproperties.com or 713-489-9900. TREC is trec.texas.gov, and if you want to file a complaint, all the information is on there. And I'm always open to questions as well regarding TREC.
And again, let's remind people of the model that you have. It's a unique model to help buyers and sellers right here in Houston. And other than the value they get, your world of experience is just tremendous.
Well, thank you. Leslie Lerner Properties is the home of flat fee listings and rebated commissions, where we were actually Houston's first full-service flat fee real estate brokerage.
And your website is?
LeslieLernerProperties.com.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And he is back, Danny S. Davis. As we wind up the show, he is the president, founder with Escapeda Oil right here in Houston. Danny, as we wind things up, let's tell people anything else you want them to know about the oil business or Escapeda Oil.
Well,
are y'all geared up for a big year next year?
Yeah, I think we're going to do just fine next year. It's all a matter of investment to return, and these prices the way they are, and I think they'll stay about stable. I think it's going to be an interesting year, drilling and completing wells.
As far as being so successful as you have been all these years, to be in any profession for a period of time, especially the oil profession, give someone a word. Let's say there's a youngster out there. They may not be in the oil business. They may be doing something else. But as far as things for success, what has served you well that you've done on a regular basis to navigate the ups and downs of business in general?
We never quit.
There you go.
Never quit and never give up. And another, like I say, you always got to have to keep a positive mental attitude on everything you try to do. And don't ever let what you do not have keeping you from getting what you want.
Repeat that.
Never let what you don't have keep you from getting what you want.
Words to live by. And it was, of course, Winston Churchill was the big, he never give up. Didn't he say something like that? There you go. Danny S. Davis, and he is back. Thanks for being with us.
Anytime.
Tell Mr. Duvall we said hello.
I will.
And Avery Taylor is back.
All right,
Avery, as we wind things down, he is with Next Home Elite Advisor. Avery, what else should we know before we close things down? You're probably ready to buy another property. You might have bought one since 5 minutes ago.
I mean, well, you know what? I would love to buy another property. So if you need to sell one, let me know. But I'm also here to help you as a real estate agent. So I list, I sell, I buy. We do the whole 9 yards. So let me know if you need me.
Give us a quick word. You're pretty familiar with all of Houston, but
yes, sir.
Certainly the Fort Bend, and we'll call, let's say, Sugar Land in particular.
Yes, sir.
What's happening in Sugar Land these days?
I mean, I can tell you Fort Bend County is the fastest growing county in the nation. So if you ever want to check it, just Google it. It's the fastest growing county in the nation. If you want to be somewhere that's moving forward and building, and you can actually get land for a pretty good price down there. If you want to build the infrastructure, you can. You may have to go a little bit further out towards the Nevilles, the Beasleys, the Kendleton, but it all counts as Fort Bend County, and they're looking to grow.
There he is, Avery Taylor. Thanks for being with us,
yes,
Avery.
Thank
At
you
short
very much.
notice, no less. Let's tell people how they can reach you.
Yeah, so phone number is 832-338-9202. My email is avery.taylor@tmaygroup.com, and my website is tmaygroup.com. It's easy.
And one more time on your phone number, a little slower, please.
Yes, sir, 832-338-9202.
Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you all for listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I am your host, Bill Knapik, together with John Bramlett, Tom Carpentier, Larry Warren. And as you listen to the show, who knows how far you are away at the time of broadcast, 150-mile radius. That's what they're telling us. In the meantime, of course, on the internet, we hope you find the show enjoyable, informative, and even entertaining wherever you are. Simply go to stewart.com/radio. That's right. You could see and hear the show simply by going to stewart.com/radio. You can see what's happening here in the studio, the guests, and all the great things. Again, stewart.com/radio. Go to Stewart Insurance, stewartinsurance.com. This is a perfect time of year to check out if you're properly insured. That's right, the full menu is there at stewart.com/radio, or the insurance menu, stewartinsurance.com. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week.